coming into that sacred, the idea of sacred marriage, everyone talks about sacred marriage, and in Gnosticism, it goes beyond the man and the woman. It's being married with everyone, right? To be in unity with everyone and everything around us, nature, Mother Earth, the animals, right? We cannot continue to be cruel to the animals either. It's everything. We are all one. It's respecting life, and also to have compassion towards that person maybe who is rude to you, maybe that person who's saying something to you, because we don't know what is going on in that person's heart. We don't know what that person is going through. We all have our wounds as well that we're healing. We may express ourselves in a way that we hurt other people as well, right?
It's like this. It's like we may have worked on some of our edges, but somebody else has edges, and their edges come bump up on a nice,
Yeah.
soft, clean surface, and they're like agitated by the fact that you're not agitated, or they that hey, it's all love and peace. But is it love and peace? Because I know so many people who speak love and peace, and yet really their everyday words are very judgmental, very hateful, very hurtful, very gossipy. And I see this especially in spiritual circles. I've experienced this. I think I was able to go so deep into Mary Magdalene's story and resonate so much with how her and her husband felt, because they were, on one hand, they were so loved and adored by their friends and family members and the people who followed them and listened to them. And yet, on the other hand, they were so vehemently hated and judged and criticized for so many things, like stupid things like Mary Magdalene wanting to wear her hair loose rather than having it, covered, braided, or taken, tied back. And yet, I also experienced this in the Hare Krishna movement, because the women are supposed to braid their hair and cover their heads. Now, I do always cover my head, and I don't have a problem covering my head. I love covering my head, but I like having my hair loose. And that started from very young. When I went to India, they wanted me to wear saris, and they wanted me to braid my hair and look like an Indian girl. And I was very ashamed in England of being half Indian, because I was really badly bullied for having an Indian father. In fact, I was born with a natural bindi right here in the middle of my third eye. It was like a raised bump right there. And people used to come up to me at school and put their finger on my bump and say, Paki, go home. You know, even though I'm not from Pakistan, we were from Kashmir. But it was just so horrible. So one of the first things I did when I was 18 was I went and had it cut out, and because I was so ashamed of being Indian. So for me, wearing my hair down or wearing my hair in a braid, it just does not matter. These are all external things that people have imposed on women. So they've inflicted this upon women. You have to be covered from head to toe, or else you're a loose woman. And yet I feel like Mary Magdalene's message is, you're only a loose woman if you're a loose woman.
Yeah.
Your hairstyle or even how you dress does not make you loose. It's your behavior that makes you loose. So I've never been a loose woman. I pride myself that I have never been a loose woman. And I have really strong sense of chastity and loyalty in all of my relationships. And so for someone to judge me based on my hairstyle, it shows me how infantile people are in their spiritual life, that they judge like that instead of seeing the beauty that's there in me. They just look at the hairdo and go, oh, we shouldn't hang out with that person because she wears her hair loose. She's a loose woman.
That's it's powerful what you're saying, because well, when I think of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, you said something, how they were loved, but how they were hated. They were hated for
Mm.
the power that they had, and even when the priests asked Yeshua, how do you know all this? He had received so many teachers because he traveled to many places, but also because he was connected to his wisdom, the Holy Spirit. Even in the spiritual communities you were talking about, there is that judgment, judging me because I wasn't wearing red, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a Magdalene, I need to wear red. And so
Right.
that, just imagine that happening in that time, how she was always judged for,
Yes.
like you said, wanting to be a strong woman, but an independent woman and a free woman as well.
Yes, and she was, and she led the way. So, talking of which, our next question is quite an interesting one. So, how come so many people are approaching us? I'd say every week I get people approaching me claiming to be Mary Magdalene or Jesus reincarnated, and it's become a phenomenon at this point. And I've spoken about it a few times on Facebook, and I've done a couple of videos on it. But I'd like to hear your angle on why do you think this is happening and why are there so many of them?
Well, I think I'm going to give an energetic explanation and then more of a grounded 3D explanation. So we are in this time, in this age, which is called the age of the Holy Spirit, but it's also called the age of Aquarius. Aquarius, there's a shadow to it, right? And so the shadow side of this is an immense ego and the false teacher, which Yeshua talked about. He talked about the false teachers. He told his apostle to be careful with the false teachers. And so there's this, and what is a false teacher? When we think of this age, it's this sense of a God complex, this sense of superiority, and that is the Aquarius energy in the shadow. And then that trickles off into all of the political systems happening right now, where everyone thinks, no, I'm right, you're wrong. With the God complex, which we are here to heal, right? Right. And so if we can connect to that, that's purification, right? That's allowing our body be filled with the essence of light, but not the shadow. The shadow is the opposite. So I can see that people vibrating to that energy. And when we're not in control, that's because the dark force is in control and it's saying, get that energy, everything. At the same time, there's this phenomenon of the Messiah, right? If you claim to be Yeshua or Mary Magdalene, you're claiming to be a Messiah. In the age of Yeshua, when he was alive, there were a lot of people who claimed to be the Messiah as well. And so when any consciousness is activated, and we know that the Magdalene is being very activated here with Yeshua in divine union, that triggers people thinking that, I'm Yeshua, I'm Mary Magdalene, I'm the reincarnation. I mean, I've had people tell me, you are the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. I said, no, I'm holding her frequency, right? I'm sure
that's beautiful.
In a past life, I was probably cleaning her temples, and I allow people to think that's what I always see myself, cleaning temples, right? Just cleaning.
Oh, bless you.
And I allow people to think that it's okay because people channel energies, and I allow that. I think we're remembering her frequency because her frequency is she's here to help us purify our earthly expression. That's the big teachings here. And so the idea of the false teacher is people just saying, well, I don't know what to do with my life. And so now I'm the reincarnation of Yeshua.
That's quite a leap.
Because a lot of people enter the spiritual world without being grounded, without having a lineage. A lineage is really important.
Yes.
Krishna, it doesn't matter.
A lineage keeps you humble.
Yes, definitely. Lineage, if you're Western and you're just doing, plant medicine all of the time, that creates a God complex where you start to see things,
definitely.
And you think
because we're insecure beings. And, death can happen at any moment. So the ego rules because the ego makes you feel like you're in charge, you're in control, you have some control over everything. So I can definitely see that. Here's my thought. Tell me what you think about this. So my teacher, my first question when I met him in India was, where is Jesus now? And he went very quiet for a moment as if he was reading all of the Akashic records. And then he said, he is here on earth right now. He's already been born and he is already practicing bhakti yoga. But he has come here in this lineage to perfect his bhajan. So that leads me to believe, of course, that all of the friends and disciples and followers come with him when he comes to earth, which means that Mary Magdalene is here, and along with Martha and Lazarus and Mother Mary and all of the family members. And I think one of the reasons why so many people are feeling this activation in themselves that I am this personality. One is because of what you said about the ego and the misleading of the ego, because we don't die with our egos. When we die, the ego dies with us, because the ego dies with the body. It is left behind with the body. It's a subtle, yet it belongs to the physical world. It's not something that we bring with us into the afterlife. So if Magdalene and Yesu are here right now, then all of their loved ones are here. That's a very powerful messianic activation in our collective. And so I think that when people are taking plant medicine, they're getting drunk, they're getting high, they're having these. A sporty in the Vedas, a sporty is like a vision, or it's a vision of the kingdom. It's a vision of greatness. It's a vision of God, and that can very easily become very confused, especially when you're on plant medicine, because I know I've had experiences like that in the past when I took plant medicine. I haven't done plant medicine in 15 years, but when I did, I also had experiences that would lead a person to believe that they were perhaps more elevated than others. And then you have to battle with your ego. Well, like you say, am I really that great, or am I just like everybody else who has that opportunity to meet God face to face? So I think that if they are really here, which Gurudev said they are, so I have no reason to doubt his word, then all of us are feeling that activation, and some are just getting a little confused that maybe it's them. But when people approach you, or when people approach me on this subject and say, I am Mary Magdalene, I am Jesus, I get it weekly. I've been having this for maybe 7 years now, where every week I have at least one or two people approaching me and saying, I am her. And then, so now I've become very strong and very firm. And my reply is always, tell me, how do you live your life? What are your daily practices? Do you eat meat? Have you seen God face to face? How do you live? Are you married? And then inevitably people say, oh, I've been divorced 3 times, and yeah, I smoke a bit of weed and I drink, oh yeah, I eat meat, but I should give it up. I know I should. Don't really believe in the spiritual practice. I believe I'm above all of that. So immediately I know this person is not who they're saying they are. And so until somebody comes in front of me and can claim to be this person and tick all of these boxes of, yes, I'm vegetarian, yes, I have a daily practice, I don't want to believe that I'm this person, but I think I might be, and these are the reasons why, because when I'm praying I have these types of experiences. Until I hear something like that, I'm not even going to give it a cent of my time.
What you're saying is really powerful, because there is a powerful messianic activation happening in the earth. We're waiting. The second coming is the Magdalene, the purifying to receive her light, right? And that is a very, very powerful messianic activation. And at the same time, I truly believe that if you're holding her frequency, or his frequency, or their frequency, you don't need to say it. And I always say that that is such a privilege, to be able to have tasted, or to taste just a little bit of who she is, who he is, because I speak in the present, to be able to even feel it in your heart, to be able to chat and feel a little bit. You're privileged, and you are.
Yes, agreed.
Because we can feel something so powerful, and that feeling makes us live the frequency, not talk about it. I do agree with you for when you talk about, what is your way of life? To embody the Magdalene and Christ energies, it is important to live like them. Their life is their message. He doesn't need to talk about it. He is. And he's
yes,
how to be the peace, how to be the unity. And it was one of the most powerful experiences I ever had. And then I knew in that moment, okay, this is what spirituality is about living it. That image of the tick boxes, right? Ticking the boxes.
Yes, it has to be there. And if somebody comes before us who can tick all the boxes, then I'm open to that person being those people, but if they haven't seen God face to face, if they haven't had that experience, then I'm not going to take it seriously. That's just where I'm at. And if they're eating the flesh of slain beasts, you know, eating meat, then you can't take that seriously, because we know that Yesu and his whole family were vegetarian, and you cannot be a container for divine love while you are encumbered by the blood of the innocent. And the animals are the most innocent beings on earth. They're more innocent than we are, because they're dependent on us. We're not dependent on anything, really. We're dependent on God. But the animals are dependent on our mercy and our kindness. And the fact that we exploit them and abuse them and kill them and rape them and harm them, and take them away from their children and their mothers and separate them and do terrible, terrible, torturous things to these beautiful, sweet, innocent animals that we claim to love, it shows me that that's not love. It's not love. It's the very opposite. It's satanic. I've always tiptoed around this subject, because out of respect for other people's right to eat whatever they want to eat. But the thing is, the animals don't have a voice, and God speaks through all of us. And so I really believe that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, that they would want us to encourage people to give up the eating of slain beasts, just as they did 2,000 years ago, because our holy grail, which is this vessel and our consciousness, cannot embody, cannot contain divine love in its purest, highest form.
I totally agree with you. According to how we live our life, that malchut is the malchut of illusion, or the malchut of the kingdom, right? The malchut Yeshua speaks about. And when we hold these dense energies, which could be the bad feelings, separation, judgment, but also the energy of eating something that has been murdered, right?
Yes.
That doesn't allow us to hold more light, because it's
That's right.
blocking.
It drains us, actually. It drains the light out. It's like my Gurudev used to say, it's like you have this cup and then you drill these holes at the bottom, and then all the liquid just drains out. That's what meat does to a person's pure consciousness. It sullies it, it dirties it. And until people understand that if they truly wish to be Christian, Christ, if they want to follow the Christ, then they have to live like how he lived. Otherwise, it's not true following. And if you want to be like Mary Magdalene, then be like Mary Magdalene. Learn about her ways like you do. You're so dedicated to finding out the truth and expressing the truth and teaching others the truth about her ways, and the beauty of their culture and their history and the way they spoke and the way they dealt with one another. I mean, when I wrote their book, their story, I was so immersed in their culture, so immersed in their ways, and I felt like I was right there with them, witnessing all of it firsthand. And I never wanted to leave. I wanted to just stay in that world forever, because it was so innocent and so high vibration and so beautiful, having a holy master living amongst us, knowing what to do, what not to do. And on a daily basis, the way we all treated one another with so much reverence and love and respect, except for Peter, who was a problem.